My wife said, "Your disappearance would be the best birthday gift." I disappeared, but I left a surprise she will remember forever. Be careful what you wish for, honey. When she told me my disappearance would be the best birthday gift, I took it seriously. Do you want to know how I became the worst birthday gift giver ever? Let me tell you exactly what Sophia, my wife, told me when I asked her what she wanted for her birthday this year. We had been fighting for months. Every conversation turned into an argument. Every attempt I made to fix things was thrown back in my face. Our house in the Del Valle neighborhood felt like a war zone, where we both walked through a minefield, waiting for the next explosion. I was exhausted. She was exhausted. Still, I thought her birthday might be our chance to start over. Maybe if I could give her something she really wanted, we could find our way back to each other. So, 3 weeks before her birthday, after yet another silent dinner where we ate like strangers sharing the same table, I decided to try one more time. I looked at her from the other side of the kitchen counter, where she was washing dishes with more force than necessary. "What do you want for your birthday, Sophia?" Simple question, reasonable question. She didn't even turn around. She kept scrubbing the same plate as if trying to erase the pattern on it. "I don't know," she said, but her voice had that sharp tone, that way of warning me we were about to enter dangerous territory. "Come on," I said, getting closer. "There has to be something. A trip, jewelry, that weekend in Tepoztlán you mentioned." Finally, she turned around, and the expression on her face. I had seen her angry, I had seen her frustrated, but this was something else. It was pure exhaustion mixed with something darker. "Do you really want to know what I want, Javier?" she said, raising her voice with every word. "Yes, tell me. Do you want to know what would truly make me happy on my birthday?" I nodded, thinking I was about to hear about some expensive gift or an elaborate gesture I'd have to figure out how to pull off. She looked me straight in the eyes and said, "Your disappearance would be my best birthday gift." The words hit me like a punch. Not because they were unexpected. Our marriage had been unraveling for months, but because of the way she said it. With such conviction, such relief, as if she had held that truth inside for so long that finally saying it out loud was like exhaling after holding her breath. "If you disappeared, it would be my best birthday gift," she repeated, just to make sure I had heard correctly. "That is what I want. For you to simply not be here anymore." I stood there in our kitchen, surrounded by the life we had built together, and felt something inside me go completely cold. It wasn't a cold born of anger, nor of suffering. It was a calculated cold. She turned back to the sink, apparently satisfied to have finally told the truth. The silence stretched between us like an uncrossable abyss. But that's what happens when you get exactly what you ask for. Sometimes it comes in ways you would never expect. I watched her back as she continued washing the dishes, probably feeling lighter now that she had said what she truly felt. And I made a decision right there in that kitchen. If disappearing was what she wanted for her birthday, then disappearing was exactly what she was going to get. But my way of disappearing would come with a surprise she would remember forever. "All right," I said quietly, so quietly she probably thought I was just accepting defeat once again. She had no idea I was accepting the challenge. The next morning, everything changed, but not in the way she expected. I woke up before the alarm rang, made coffee, and sat at the kitchen table as I always did. When she came down, she seemed even lighter, as if telling me she wanted me to disappear had lifted an invisible weight off her shoulders. "Good morning," she said, making eye contact for the first time in weeks. "Good morning," I replied, taking a sip of coffee. She waited for me to say something about the night before, perhaps to apologize or to start another fight about how cruel she had been, but I gave her none of those reactions. Instead, I just nodded and said, "I heard you loud and clear." Something flickered across her face. Confusion, perhaps. She expected drama, tears, or at least an argument. What she got was quiet acceptance. Over the next few days, I stopped doing all the things that had been causing our fights. I stopped trying to plan dinners she didn't want. I stopped suggesting we talk about our problems. I stopped leaving little notes or bringing her coffee in the morning. She noticed. How could she not? But instead of worrying, She seemed relieved. "You've been different," she said one night when we crossed paths in the hallway. "Oh yeah," I asked without stopping. "Yeah." She searched for the word. "Peaceful. Peaceful." That's what she called it. When I stopped fighting for our marriage, when I stopped trying to save something she clearly didn't want saved. But I wasn't being peaceful. I was being strategic. While she enjoyed this new version of me, one that didn't pressure her or demand her attention, I was silently taking care of my own business. I started organizing our financial records, making copies of important documents like our marriage certificate, IDs and tax forms, and researching exactly what I would need to do to disappear the way she wanted. I opened a separate bank account, just a small amount at first, moving money in amounts too small for her to notice. I started tracking our shared expenses, our joint bills, our mutual obligations. Every night, while she watched TV or scrolled through her phone with that satisfied look she'd worn since our conversation in the kitchen, I sat in my home office, planning her birthday gift. The irony didn't escape me. Here I was, putting more effort into giving her exactly what she wanted than into anything else in the last few months. And what did she want? 2 weeks before her birthday, she actually initiated a conversation with me during dinner. "I was thinking," she said, picking at her salad, "maybe we should do something for my birthday this year." I looked up from my plate. "Oh yes? Maybe invite a few people. Something simple." Simple, sure. Because planning a party for a wife who wanted me to disappear was definitely simple. "Who did you have in mind to invite?" I asked. "You know, the usual crew. My sister Helena, some friends from work, maybe a few neighbors. The usual crowd," she replied. "The same people who had watched our marriage deteriorate over months and had probably placed bets on how long we would last." "Sounds good," I said. "Can I help organize it?" She looked genuinely surprised. "Really? You don't mind helping me?" she asked with expectation. "Not at all," I said. "It's your birthday. You should have exactly what you want." Then she smiled. The first real smile I had seen on her in months. And why shouldn't she smile? She had told me she wanted me gone, and instead of fighting it, I was apparently making peace with the idea, even helping to plan her own party. What she didn't know was that I planned to give her exactly what she had asked for, just not when she expected it, and definitely not how she expected it. The party would be perfect. Absolutely perfect. Because it would be my final performance before fulfilling her birthday wish. And the surprise I was planning? She would definitely remember it forever. Her birthday arrived on a Saturday, the perfect time for a party, and the perfect time for what I had planned. I woke up early and started the preparations as if I were husband of the year. Decorations, prepping appetizers, ensuring everything was exactly how she wanted it. She watched me with a mixture of surprise and suspicion, as if she couldn't understand why I was being so helpful. "You're really making an effort," she said, watching me hang streamers in the living room. "It's your birthday," I replied. "It shouldn't be anything less than perfect." By the afternoon, the house looked amazing. The food was ready, the drinks were cold, the playlist was set. I even put on the shirt she gave me last Christmas from Liverpool that I had never worn because we were fighting when she gave it to me. The first guests arrived around 4 p.m. Her sister Helena showed up with her husband, followed by 3 friends from work, then the neighbors from down the street. Everyone was in a good mood, and why wouldn't they be? Free food, free drinks, and a front row seat to see the state of the couple that had been having trouble for months. What they saw was an award-winning performance. I was the perfect host. Attentive, charming, ensuring everyone had what they needed. I complimented her dress, brought her drinks, laughed at her jokes. To anyone watching, we looked like a couple that had overcome their problems and come out stronger. Helena pulled me aside in the kitchen while I was refilling the ice bucket. "I have to say, you two seem really good together today," she said. "We're working on it," I replied, which wasn't technically a lie. She seemed happy, happier than she had been in a long time. Happy? Of course she was happy. She had told me she wanted me gone. I had stopped fighting with her about everything, and now I was there organizing a perfect party while apparently accepting that our marriage was over. Around 7 p.m., while everyone was gathered in the living room sharing birthday stories, I watched her from across the room. She was genuinely laughing, surrounded by people who cared about her, looking more relaxed than I had seen her in months. This was her moment, the perfect birthday celebration with all the people she wanted, in the house she loved, with the husband who was finally giving her exactly what she wanted. I stepped out into the backyard for a moment. The Mexico City air was cool, and I could hear the laughter through the windows. In a few hours, all of this would end. The guests would leave. She would probably thank me for the party, and then we would go to bed like a normal couple, except that tomorrow her true birthday gift would begin. When I returned, she was opening gifts. Jewelry from her sister, a gift card to a spa from her work friends, a bottle of wine from the neighbors. She seemed genuinely happy with everything. "Where's your gift?" Helena asked. I smiled and looked at Sophia. "I'm saving the best for last." She looked curious but not suspicious. Why would she be? I was being the perfect husband that night. After the gifts, we cut a tres leches cake and had more drinks. By 10 p.m., people started saying their goodbyes. Her sister hugged her and whispered something that made her laugh. Her work friends promised to take her to lunch the following week. The neighbors thanked us for the pleasant evening. At 10:30 p.m., it was just the two of us. She began gathering plates and glasses, humming softly. "Thank you," she said without looking at me. "It was very pleasant. I'm glad you liked it." "I really did. I liked it," she said, pausing while holding a stack of plates. "Maybe we can do this more often. Invite people over, be social. Be social. As if we had a future full of dinner parties and game nights." "Maybe," I said. She went upstairs to change while I finished cleaning up. When she came down in her pajamas, she looked younger somehow, lighter. Then she said, settling onto the sofa, "You said you were saving the best for last. Where is my real gift?" I sat down next to her, close enough that she wouldn't pull away. "Your real gift," I said slowly, "starts tomorrow." "Tomorrow? Do you remember what I told you I wanted for my birthday?" Her expression shifted slightly. The lightness vanished. "What did I say that night?" "We were both angry." "I wasn't speaking out of anger. You were honest. Maybe for the first time in months." I continued. She opened her mouth to say something, but I raised my hand. "You wanted me to disappear. You said that would make you truly happy." The color drained from her face. "So that is what I am going to give you. Exactly what you asked for." I woke up at 5 a.m. She was still sleeping, curled up on her side of the bed as she had been doing for months, as far away from me as possible without falling off the mattress. The night before, after I had spoken about her true gift, she had gone silent. Then she tried to backtrack, saying she didn't mean it, that she was just frustrated, that married couples say things they don't mean. But I interrupted her immediately. "Did you say it seriously?" "I did. And do I respect you enough to take you seriously?" She went to bed without saying another word. Now, in the gray light of dawn, I dressed in silence and went down to my office. Everything I needed was already prepared. Bank documents, copies of important papers, a list of contacts I would need to call. I had spent 2 weeks preparing this. The separate account was funded and ready. I had silently moved my personal belongings. Things that mattered to me, clothes, books, some family photos. Not enough for her to notice, but enough not to start from scratch. I wrote the note on plain white paper. No dramatic flourishes, no emotional appeals. Just facts. "You said you wanted me to disappear. You said it would be your best birthday gift. Consider your wish granted. Do not look for me. This is what you asked for." I left the note on the kitchen counter, where she would find it when she came down for coffee. Then I grabbed my keys, wallet, and the single bag I had packed the night before, and walked out of the house we had shared for 3 years. The morning air was crisp and quiet. No neighbors awake yet. There was no traffic on our street. I got into the car and drove away from the life where she told me she didn't want me. I rented a small apartment in Roma Norte using my new bank account. Nothing fancy, just a furnished studio that would serve for what I needed. I paid 3 months in advance in cash. By 7 a.m., I was already settled in my new temporary home, drinking coffee and watching the sun rise through unfamiliar windows. I knew she would be waking up soon. She would come down expecting to find me making coffee as I had done every morning for 3 years. Instead, she would find my note. My phone was off. I bought a new one yesterday with a different number. The old phone was in a drawer in the new place, but I wasn't ready to deal with the messages that might be waiting. Around 9 a.m., I turned it on briefly. 12 missed calls. 8 text messages. Where are you? Some said, this isn't funny. Come home so we can talk. You can't just leave. I didn't mean what I said. Please call me back. You're being ridiculous. Fine, throw your tantrum, but you'll be back. I turned the phone off again. She thought it was a fit of pique, a dramatic gesture to get attention or make her feel guilty. She had no idea this was just the beginning. In the following days, I established my new routine. I went to work as usual. I didn't tell anyone there what was happening. I ate alone, read books that were on my backlog, walked through parts of the city I had never explored. It was quiet, even peaceful. Meanwhile, I knew she was probably going through the phases. First confusion, then anger, and then, perhaps, panic when she realized I wasn't coming back after a day or two as she expected. On Thursday, 5 days after I disappeared, I drove past our house on my way to my new home after work. Her car was there, but Helena's was too. She had called for reinforcements. I didn't stop. On Friday, I checked my old phone again. Now there were 23 missed calls. The text messages had become more desperate. Everyone is asking where you are. I said we had a fight, but that you're coming back. How long are you going to keep this up? I'm starting to worry. Okay, sorry. Is that what you want to hear? This is crazy. Just come home. Worried. Now she was worried. But this was exactly what she had asked for. For me to leave her life. Her exact words were that it would make her truly happy. I was just ensuring she had the full experience of what she requested. The real surprise was still to come. By the second week, panic had taken over completely. I knew this because her sister started calling my workplace. My secretary mentioned that someone had been asking for me, claiming to be family, wanting to know if I was okay. Should I be worried? She asked me on Monday morning. No, I replied. Just personal drama. Nothing that affects work. Personal drama. That's what our marriage had turned into. I also learned she had gone to the authorities. A friend of mine who works at the prosecutor's office mentioned that someone had tried to file a missing person report, but the case was closed quite quickly. The guy left home after a fight with his wife. He told me while we were having a few beers on Thursday night. It happens all the time. They told her that as long as there are no signs of a crime, if he left of his own free will, it's not legally considered a disappearance. He had no idea he was talking about me. The old phone now had 47 missed calls and more text messages than I cared to count. The tone had shifted from anger to desperation and to something very close to genuine fear. I found your note. We need to talk. I know you're getting these messages. Your boss said you're still going to work. Why won't you come home? I'm sorry. Okay, I shouldn't have said that. People are starting to ask questions. I don't know what to say. Please just call me for 5 minutes. I'm scared something has happened to you. This is not what I wanted. That last one made me laugh. It wasn't what she wanted. She had been very specific about what she wanted. On Friday of the second week, I decided it was time for phase 2. I had been patient. I gave her the full experience of me disappearing from her life. She had gotten exactly what she asked for. 2 weeks without me, without my presence, without having to deal with me in any way. Now she needed to understand what that actually meant. I went to the house at lunchtime when I knew she would be at work. Using my key, I entered to grab a few more things. But more importantly, I left some documents on the kitchen table. The divorce petition filed without cause, already filled out and signed by me, along with copies of our financial records showing how I had silently separated our accounts over the last month, how I had changed my direct deposit to the new bank, how I had removed my name from the electricity, water, gas bills, and everything that tied me to that house. I also left the house keys, the keys to the car that was in both our names but whose payments I had been making, credit cards I had already canceled, and one more note. You got what you wanted. For me to be gone. But disappearing means disappearing completely. The financial support disappears. The The shared responsibilities disappear. Everything I brought to this marriage disappears exactly as you asked. When she got home after work and found all that waiting for her, she would realize this wasn't a tantrum, nor a dramatic gesture. It was me fulfilling her birthday wish with surgical precision. I went back to my apartment and waited. The phone started ringing at 6:47 p.m. I let it ring. By 7:30 p.m., there were already 6 new voicemails. You can't just file for divorce without talking to me. This is crazy. Come home so we can fix this. You can't take everything and just leave. I never asked for this. You're being cruel. Please, we can resolve this. But she had asked for this. She had been very clear. She wanted me to disappear. She wanted her life to be better without me. Now she had the chance to find out if she was right. 3 weeks after her birthday, she finally found a way to contact me. I was in my new apartment on a Saturday night when there was a knock at the door. I looked through the peephole and there she was, looking like someone who hadn't slept for days. Her hair was tied back messily, still wearing her work clothes from the day before. I opened the door but didn't invite her in. "We need to talk," she said. "Oh yes? Don't do that. Don't act like you don't know why I'm here." I leaned against the doorframe. She looked around my small apartment, observing the basic furniture and the boxes I still hadn't unpacked. "You filed for divorce?" she said. "Without even talking to me? What was there to talk about? You made your feelings quite clear." Her hands were shaking as she crossed her arms, trying to look more controlled than she actually was. "I was angry when I said that. People say things when they're angry." "You weren't angry," I replied calmly. "You were honest. Maybe for the first time in months." "That's not true, is it? When was the last time you were genuinely happy to see me come home? When was the last time you wanted to spend time with me? When was the last time you didn't act like my presence was a nuisance?" She opened her mouth to answer, then closed it. "I gave you exactly what you asked for," I continued. "You wanted me to disappear. I disappeared. You wanted your life to be better without me. Here is your chance to prove it." "I can't pay the 30,000 peso mortgage alone," she said in a low voice. "That is no longer my problem. The bills, the car payment, the insurance, all of that is up to you now, since you have the independence you wanted so much." She looked at me as if I were a stranger, which in a way I already was. "That wasn't what I meant," she said. "Then what did you mean when you said you wanted me to disappear? What exactly did you think that meant?" I thought maybe we would separate for a while, have some space, work on ourselves while you continued paying for everything, while you waited hopefully for me to decide I could tolerate you again. That is exactly what you expected. You wanted all the benefits of not having me around, without any of the consequences of actually not having me. My neighbors could probably hear the entire conversation, but I didn't care. "I've been thinking about what you said," she continued, "about the way I acted. You're right. I took you for granted. Oh sure. Or maybe you just realized that being without me meant having to deal with everything alone." She flinched. "I can change," she said. "I'm sure you can. But not with me." "Why?" I looked at her standing there in my doorway 3 weeks after getting exactly what she asked for, now desperate to undo it all. "Because you killed something when you said that. You didn't just tell me you needed space or time. You told me your life would be better if I didn't exist in it. I didn't mean it that way. That was exactly the way you said it. And you know what? Maybe you were right. Maybe your life is better without me. Now you have the chance to find out." She was crying now, showing more emotion than I had seen in her in months. "Please," she said, "can we do therapy? Can we fix this?" I didn't answer simply. I took a step back and started to close the door. "Are you really going to throw away 3 years of marriage because of one thing I said?" I paused with the door still ajar. "I'm not throwing anything away. I'm just fulfilling your birthday wish. You said my disappearance would be your best gift. I just ensured you got exactly what you asked for." "Wait," she said, putting her hand on the door. "Please don't do this." I looked at her one last time. "The difference between us is this. When you said you wanted me to leave, you meant it. When you say you want me back, You're just scared of the consequences of getting exactly what you wanted. I closed the door and locked it. She stood outside for another 10 minutes, calling my name every now and then. Then I heard her footsteps walking away. 2 days later, the signed divorce papers arrived by courier. She had made her decision, just as I had made mine the night she told me what her birthday wish was. Sometimes you get exactly what you ask for, and sometimes that is the last thing you really wanted. Dude Reddit's commentary. Funny how disappearing from my life sounds so beautiful until the bill arrives, right? Some people confuse emotional independence with continuing to receive all the benefits. Moral of the story: be careful with the gift you ask for, because sometimes it comes with an invoice, divorce papers, and express delivery.